Alright, in a previous video I've done a couple videos on this, I think. I talked about extracting values from multi-select person fields in a SharePoint list using Power Automate, and I had some questions from people about doing the same for multi-select choice fields. And the process is largely the same, but just slightly different because of the kind of the shape of the fields in the object that is used for a multi-select choice column versus a multi-select person column. So I just wanted to kind of walk through it. So I've got a very basic list here. It's just got a title column and then a colors column, which is a multi-select choice column with a bunch of colors available. So I've got the whole blue, green, yellow, red, purple. So basically people can select any one or more of those. Now, the way I have this set up is a manual flow, so basically a for a selected item flow. So if I hit save on this and we'll go back, basically in this list I can select an item and then go to the, not sure why these things aren't showing up. But I can use, this is a for a selected item in SharePoint flow. So basically it's going to run for that specific item. So I'll just run that and then say run flow when it shows up. And if we go back over here, we can see, well, I've done a bunch of testing before, but in this case all it's doing is getting the item. So it's triggering and then it's getting the item. So we can see in here that for that item we have the title is 2 and then the colors is in this array format. We know it's an array because we have a square bracket and then it's an array of objects. So within that array, let me just open up this way. It's a little bit, it's maybe slightly easier to read. So we see that we've got the title, we've got the colors. And so this is our array of color values, and within that array, each one, even though it's just a value, a text value of green or red, it's coming in as this OData type. So basically there's that OData type property, there's an ID property, there's a value property. So getting a collection of them is a little bit more complicated than most people would like. And honestly, it probably should be easier than this, but it's not. So it's not difficult, but let's just walk through it. So the first thing you need to do is to get just that value property out of the array is use a select action. So I'm going to edit this flow, and I'm going to add an action and search for select. It'll be under data operations, and basically what this allows you to do is you're going to specify an array, and in our case our array is going to be that colors value from get item. In fact, it's the only array available, so it's the only thing that's being selected or being offered there, so I'll select colors. Now in this map, normally select would, well, not normally, but most often select is used to kind of get a subset of columns. So this way you could get, from, if this were get items that was getting a collection of items, you just wanted the title and the ID of each item, you would have, enter a key of title and then the value title and the key of ID and value of ID. But in this case, there's actually a simpler way. If we click this button to switch over to text mode, because all we want is one value out of that, and it's that colors value. So when we select in here and open the dynamic content, you'll see colors value. So that's just the text value, the choice values that are there. So that gives us, basically it's taking the array of colors and converting it into which is an array of objects, it's now converting it into an array of string values, which is one step. Now the next step, let me first get rid of this stupid copilot thing. The next step, so I'm just going to say select just to keep myself straight, color values. Now what we want to do is stick all those color values together with some kind of a delimiter or separator. So I'm going to use a compose action for that. So I'll click add an action and compose. Now if you're putting this into like an email body or whatever, you can put this expression right into that email body. I'm just showing it in a compose because for kind of building a flow and troubleshooting it, I like having it as a separate distinct action, so that if the email I'm sending with this data comes out weird, I can trace it back to see where, is it correct in the compose? If so, then something's happening to it down the road. So I'm just going to say compose color values. Now in here, I'm going to use an expression. So click the function button, and the expression is going to be join, and join is asking for a collection, which is an array. So the input for that is going to be the output of the select action, because again, the select colors is taking it from an array of objects, returning an array of string values, so I want to get that output array. And then you need to tell it how you want to separate it. So probably most logical would be a comma, and if you want a space, if you want the Oxford comma where you've got a space after the comma, which is proper, then you would just put in comma space. But you could also use semicolon, you could use a pipe character, you use pretty much anything except a single quote. I mean, you can use a single quote because it just gets weird, but any of the common separators you might want to use, you can use here. So I'll just click add, hit save, and if I just test this by rerunning that previously run flow, you can see it ran successfully. Select color value, so we can see this is the input. So from this array with the O data type and ID and value, it's returning the simplified array of just the values, just the string values of those choices. And then in our compose, you can see that the output is simply red, comma, space, green, because those are the two values that are joined together with a comma and a space separator. So yeah, there you go. That's basically it. So it is a little, the fact that you need to use the select action, and honestly, there probably is a way to do it without the select action, but it would require some, basically you kind of have to traverse the object notation to get just that value property out. And honestly, it's just simpler 99% of the cases to throw a select in there to do that. Take that complicated piece, make it a little bit simpler, and then once you have that object array filtered down or converted down to a string array of strings, then you can use a join expression inside of a compose or wherever you need it to be to stick those values together. So that is how you can get the values from a multi-select choice column into a single comma, in this case delimited, but it could be whatever delimiter you want, but a single comma delimited string of those selected values.